My name's Carl Hinder and you're listening to the Good to Go podcast. The business podcast for salon and spa owners who are trying to grow. The only thing stopping you is you. Welcome to episode 1. This week, I'm going to show you how to use this podcast to grow your business. And we're going to start by finding out why this podcast is called Good to Go. I want you to think about this episode as an introduction to Good to Go. There'll be lots and lots of other episodes heading your way pretty soon. But why Good to Go? What does it even mean? Well, as a salon or spa or clinic owner, you might see yourself as a bit of a perfectionist. Maybe you joke to yourself that you've got a bit of OCD, or maybe you're really OCD. Or could it be that you're hiding behind being a procrastinator? Don't worry, guys. I think procrastination is in all of us. But how do you manage it? And is it helping you or holding you back? Maybe you think it's a good thing. Maybe you think that you're taking plenty of time to think through all your options. But maybe you are just holding yourself back. If you're one of these people that are looking for reasons, maybe you're saying things like, look, I'm just waiting for the government to make a decision. I'm going to wait for January before I look at my prices. I'm going to wait for that member of staff to finish their training before I do something else. I'm waiting for something to happen before I dive deeply into retailing and getting organized in my business. I'm waiting for something really special before I decide to go and get a coach. Is that helping your business, or is that holding you back? So what does this good to go thing mean really? Well, look, it's a standard. It's a realization that what you have in your business, the information you have right now, the standard that you have right now is good enough. I mean, we could have called the podcast Good Enough, but good to go is something that I used as a phrase throughout the pandemic, and I used it in my own business as well. And it was back when I had my salons that I started to realize that this attitude was having an impact on my business. Now, as an example, I can remember doing this. I actually fitted a lock on the staff room door. Pretty easy process, you would think, and I completed it in a couple of hours and I went home. However, at 4 a.m., that's 4 in the morning, guys, I was back at the salon. I'd taken the lock off. I'd re-chiseled it. I tidied it up. It was on my mind. It'd been on my mind all through the night. And now I look back even then and thought, that wasn't necessary. Nobody cared. The standard was already good. And what I'd achieved first time around was good to go. But I didn't realize it then. It was years and years later when I started looking at big organizations. So if you went back to, Windows 10, Microsoft Windows 10, when they put that out, I don't want to be rude, but it was pretty rubbish. There were so many updates. There were so many changes. It was so glitchy. All the techs were saying it's not very good, but it was good enough. It was a huge improvement on the Windows that was before it. And it was going to be very, very stable once they sorted all the bits and pieces out. But it was good to go. It was good enough, guys, for them to put it out there, for them to make an awful lot of money, and for us to improve our experience. But they spent months and years, and in fact, are still sending out updates every week, improving their product. And it's those realizations that all big organizations, and I think small and medium organizations as well, have to understand when that service or whatever it is you're doing is at the good to go level. Once you start realizing that this is a real issue, it's a real thing, it's something that you've got to address in your business life. I actually think it's probably something you've got to address in your ordinary life or your personal life as well, okay? Looking for perfection is not always the best way to go for your business. And now you'll be able to see it all around you. You're going to be able to take your favorite football team. Maybe it's a premiership team. The team that they are putting out is not the best team in the world. It's the best team that they can get. It's the best team that they have at the moment. And then what are they going to do? They're going to train. They're going to coach. Maybe they'll change a few players. They're going to change strategy. They're going to improve it. And they're going to keep putting that team out. So you'll see it everywhere you look. Now, it's hard to keep remembering to do this. And even though I'm coaching this all the time and I'm sharing this with you today, I also know that I personally have to focus on this issue. Now, in about 2018, 2019, I wrote my book, Salon Products Sell or Die Not Trying. Now, that book took me 17 evenings. And I thought, well, that's great. I've got this book. I've smashed it out in 17 evenings. However, 3 months later, it still hadn't gone to print. I was procrastinating. I was looking for perfection. And then the realization came back. Come on, Carl. You understand, above all people, that this is a good book. It's a great book, and it's good to go. And it was another coach, actually. If you haven't picked him up, it's Grant Cardone. And he said about, I think it was his first book, when he got it as a New York Times bestseller, and people were complaining. They were messaging him and saying, come on, Grant, there's loads and loads of spelling mistakes in it. And he said, well, what do you want? He said, it's a bestseller, not a best written. And I'm pretty sure that he didn't deliberately pull it out with spelling mistakes, but the fact that it was out there and that it already become successful started to say that it was good enough. And so I had to kind of review my book and say, that's enough. It's good enough. It's good to go. And you need to keep doing that with your business. And then we did the same quite shortly afterwards. We built the pricing app. You should all be familiar with my award-winning pricing app by now. The pricing app pretty much took 12 months of different types of development because we wanted to get it perfect. But it was at that kind of 12-month mark where I remembered again, we don't need to be perfect. This is the best available. This is already going to be the best on the market. The information contained in it, the calculations, the fact that the interface wasn't so good or the interface was nowhere near as I wanted it. And in fact, to this day, we are still working on it. Didn't really matter. And we put it out there. We generated a lot of sales for the organization, but we helped thousands of salons sort their pricing and sort their problems. And that justified it. That said, we've never had a complaint. The feedback has always been great, and we've managed to help our organization as well as everyone else's. That, guys, is the definition of good to go. But there is a risk. Now you've listened to me today, there is a risk that you don't understand what good to go is. And you might interpret it as, well, I can't be bothered to work on this project any longer. They aren't very well trained. Carl says don't wait any longer. Just throw any old rubbish out there. It'll stick. It'll work. That is not the definition of good to go. That is not what you should be doing with your business. You, as a salon owner, need to be making really good business calculations. When you're looking for guidance, when you're starting to think, is this a good to go moment? Ask yourself these types of questions. If I don't take this action right now, do I start to lose competitor advantage? Is my competition going to start to move away from me? Am I losing position in the market? Is the window of opportunity for this project, for this service, for this promotion even, starting to close? Is that opportunity going to go away from me? And if I don't do it now, am I going to lose momentum? And maybe, because procrastination is everywhere, guys, maybe I will never do this thing at all. Those are some of the guides that you can use on yourself. Start asking yourself the questions. Am I missing opportunity? Am I missing, the window? Am I missing market share? And if those indicators are coming back, then you've got to push on. And maybe you've got to release something that is not perfect, but is absolutely good to go. Good to go is something that you learn. And the sooner that you learn it, the quicker your business will grow. Because you're going to make more positive yes decisions. You're not going to keep hiding behind your desire for perfectionism. And that's it, guys. That's the introduction to the Good to Go podcast. I'm going to be here every week helping you with different business issues. I hope you learn the Good to Go concept from this very short first introduction. Next time, I'm going to be talking to you about what it means to be financially broke. And I'm going to talk to you about that because I don't believe that any of you need to be financially broke. What does it mean to be financially broke? You're going to catch up with me on the next episode of Good to Go. Thanks so much for joining me on the first episode of Good to Go. Don't forget to drop into the podcast notes where you will see links to the book and the pricing app. You're also going to be able to subscribe and review and make sure that you tell the rest of the podcast world, especially in the salon and beauty industry, all about us. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.